Nicer gift after they made Star Wars. Now, who here watched Twin Peaks when it was on? Everybody, right? Yeah. Hard to believe that was almost 10 years ago, right? Wow. Just long enough for us to not give a hoot about it anymore, right? No, we're all dying to know what the final days of Laura Palmer were like, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's the premise of this movie, plus the usual David Lynch bizarrity, or is that a word? Bizarreness. Yeah. Bizarre-rama. Anyhow, the movie is a prequel to the Twin Peaks series, and prequel is a word. It means to shamelessly capitalize on the popularity of something that's already deader than a doormat. So, let's do those drive-in totals. We have 3 dead bodies, 1 dead television, 10 breasts, including Laura Palmer's. They don't call it Twin Peaks for nothing. And, oh, I forgot, basic cable. Never mind, no breasts. FBI performance art, 1 bloody nose, surreal midget dreams, gonad grabbing, mistress bludgeoning, familial relations, bondage, Canadian beating, gratuitous David Bowie, 2.5 stars. I'm being generous. Check it out, and I'll be here with the occasional dose of reality. Twin Peaks, Firewalk with me. You need some reality when you're watching a David Lynch movie, because how many of you have seen Eraserhead or Blue Velvet? Yeah. I love Blue Velvet. Reminds me of visiting my granddaddy when he was so far into the bottle he had to be roped into his chair to keep him from falling over. I got a little soft spot for those times. Well, but Grandpa always tilted a little bit even before he got drunk because he had that Masonic Lodge head injury, you know? Let's try and make sense of what's happened so far because that's my job. There's a dead woman named Theresa Banks who has the letter T stuck under her fingernail. Now, if you recall from the TV series, Laura Palmer's corpse had a letter under the fingernail, the letter R. But I don't remember what that meant either. Did we ever find out what that meant? No, I don't think so. So far, I'm a big help, right? Yep. I don't think we found out. I think that was one of those things people with too much time on their hands wrote academic papers about, though. You know, the meaning of the letter R, the references to old film noir pictures, the parallels to Edgar Allan Poe, like they'd go, well, there was a J found in Laura Palmer's diary and an R under her fingernail. That's a filmic reference to Who Shot J.R., Laura's partner in TV Cliffhanging. You know? And meanwhile, David Lynch is saying, yes, that may be correct, yes. May I have my check, please? I'm weird. You must pay to see my weirdness. That'll be $100,000. Thank you very much. That is, of course, David Lynch as the deaf FBI agent Gordon Cole, and the singer Chris Isaac. He's pretty good in this. But I think hands down the best performance is by Kiefer Sutherland as the geeky forensics guy. I love him in this next scene. So just roll it. Get back to the movie. We won't try to figure it out that much, but... Of course, big surprise that the best performance is by the actor that they hired. It's because so far the people in the movie are the director of the thing, a musician, some kind of mime, a gal playing dead, and 1 movie star. So I'm really stepping out there, going out on a limb, saying he's the best actor, right? If David Lynch is going to be weird, he can't just put Harry Dean Stanton in the movie as the trailer park manager. Harry Dean Stanton makes anybody's movie weird. Just say the name Harry Dean Stanton, everybody goes weird. You know, that's a shortcut to weirdness. Okay, so far I understand about 2/3 of what's going on in this movie. I don't get the old hag with the ice pack or the telephone pole with the number 6 on it, but I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm probably doing pretty well considering that they cut 20 minutes out of this thing after it was almost booed off the screens during the world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival in 1992. In fact, the guy who co-wrote it with David Lynch, Robert Ingalls, he said they wrote enough story to do a whole other movie, and they shot 5 hours worth of movie, and then the thing tanked and officially ended Twin Peaks mania, which we'll get into later. What I want to say now is that I hope we get to see more of Theresa Banks, because from that picture of her, she's pretty hot in the live state. She's played by Pamela Gidley, one of the stars of that TV show, The Pretender. I'm going to have to check that show out. Yep. Okay, roll it. What is The Pretender about? It's some guy who solves crimes by disguising himself, right? Oh, yeah. Is that the one with the guy who has that weird haircut with the bangs? Mm-hmm. Or is that the profiler? You know that guy I'm talking about? Whatever show he's on, he should lose those bangs. Or he should stay in L.A., which is probably the only place you can get away with that without getting the crap beaten out of you. But anyway, here's the profiler. How come everybody says that these days? I'm gonna profile him. Why do they say, I can't go out with you until I profile you? Isn't that something you do for serial killers? Profiling?
Yeah.
Ernie, we're not shooting this next segment until I profile you.
No way.
What's that David Bowie scene about? I know David Lynch likes to be mysterious, but I have no gall darn idea what was going on there. That's a scene they could have taken the scissors to, in my opinion. And speaking of cutting things out, the parental hand of TNT spared us a little something there when that famous Twin Peaks music came up on Laura Palmer, who, before we got a hold of the film, was partaking in a little illegal snortage before class, if you know what I mean, which is why she was acting like a freak with Bobby and James. And I'm racking my brain trying to remember which one was her boyfriend, which one she was having an affair with on the TV show. I think James was the goody-good boyfriend, but he had a thing for Laura Flynn Boyle, who was Laura Palmer's best friend. And, whoa, that was weird. Okay, back to the movie. You know who really went bonkers for Twin Peaks? The Japanese. They had fake funerals for Laura Palmer. Thousands of them went on these group tours to Washington State to stay in the lodge where Special Agent Dale Cooper stayed, had their pictures taken lying in the mud, wrapped up in plastic. I love the Japanese. They've got no qualms about being total nerds. You know? I love that. Backed off. What's that little twerp in the mask for? I mean, I'll never object to a midget in a movie, but I have to halfway understand it, okay? Anyway, that's Myra Kelly playing the Lara Flynn Boyle part. Lara Flynn Boyle just got too big to do the movie after the smashing success of The Temp. What's she doing now? She's in The Practice, right?
Yeah.
You seen her recently? She's in that club with Callista Flockhart from Ally McBeal. You know, the I'm a famous actress now, so I have to whittle down to 45 pounds club. What's with these gals?
Yeah.
You know, Laura Flynn Boyle's neck is the size of my pinky finger. And Callista Flockhart's just, he's all lips. Nothing but lips. Nothing behind the lips, you know. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Courtney Cox. She's in that club, too. Or am I the only one who thinks she's a tad thin? She's a size -4, but, you know, I got that directly from an inside source on Friends. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's get back to Twin Peaks Firewalk with Me. You know who's not thin? Cheryl Lee, the actress in this movie. Laura Palmer's looking a little thick around the gills there. She was basically cast as a dead body for the TV show. Now she's carrying an entire movie. She ought to lose some weight because of that. You know, she's ballooned up to 97, 98 pounds here. You know, did you notice that last part ended with a soap opera shot?
Yeah.
You know what a soap opera shot is? Watch this. Do this. Track in on me when I do this. But Kimberly is your sister.
Dun, dun, dun.
You know how they do that? Very creepy scene with the father and the whole hand-washing thing. We already know from the show that Bob was really her father, right? Like everybody else, I kind of lost interest during the second season, so I'm not sure. But let's keep it going. Maybe something interesting happens. Who's this movie aimed at? Because if you watched Twin Peaks, you know how it ends. If you didn't watch Twin Peaks, you're probably going, what the flying for holy is this thing? And then, of course, there are the people in the middle. They think it's a movie about Carol Dota, the most famous stripper in the history of San Francisco, you know, who trademarked the name Twin Peaks when David Lynch was still breastfeeding. Of course, David Lynch breastfed to the age of 34, but... Okay, I don't know what the hell is going on here. What's that midget with a speech impediment doing here? Where are the cookies? Did I miss something? And what was that girl with the bloody nose saying in Laura Palmer's bed? The fraction of this movie that I can make sense of has dropped to about 1/8 tops. I don't think the TV show was this brooding, though. There were donuts everywhere, right? And Kyle MacLachlan was walking around looking all fresh-faced. There was this kind of goofiness that made it fun to watch. This is fun like being blindfolded and spun around till you puke is fun. You know, at first it might be cool, but then there's just puke everywhere. I don't mean to discourage viewing, though. We're going a little deeper into the netherworld known as One-Eyed Jacks now, and you might enjoy that, so go. You know what I miss most, though? Sherilyn Fenn.
Ooh, yeah.
Tying the cherry stem with her tongue.
Ooh, yeah.
Remember that? David Lynch didn't invent that, you know. He talked about it like he invented it. There's at least one girl in every Texas bar who can do that.
Oh, he's a geek.
Cheryl Lynn just popularized it for the masses. Let's go to a bar tonight, guys, after the show.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, we're there.
Palmer start bawling in every other scene, or is that my imagination? Well, I think we can all figure out where Laura Palmer's Twin Peaks came into play. She's a one-eyed Jack's girl, and there's some kind of link to Theresa Banks, but I don't know what the heck it is, because even though that whole scene was subtitled, I still can't understand half of it. I'm as blank as a fart. What does that mean? I would probably use that in my personal life if I knew what that meant, you know. The British version of this flick doesn't even have the subtitles because David Lynch kept changing his mind about whether they should be in there or they shouldn't be in there, and by the time he decided they should be in there, the Brits had already made all their prints of the film without them. So if you saw this baby in England, you'd probably be banging your head on the back of the seat in front of you. On the other hand, those backward scenes might have been kind of cool without the subtitles. It's hard to say. All right, let's get on with it. I like that little Lesbiterian fantasy Leland Palmer had of Laura and Donna in their undies.
Yep.
Inspired by the tete-a-tete they were having on the couch there. Chicks always sit around arm in arm with their faces close like that, don't they? It's very natural.
Oh, yeah.
In the movie world. Not in my world. My world, even the lesbians don't do that. Lesbians I know are watching the game, having a cold one like God intended, in their plaid work shirts. Oh, so it wasn't a fantasy Leland had with Laura and Donna in their undies. Theresa Banks was sharing her Lady of the Evening duties with Mr. Palmer's daughter. Naughty, naughty. Wasn't there a TV movie like that where the husband is patronizing a certain escort service and he ends up being sent his own daughter one night?
Oh.
Then the whole family starts falling apart. A family torn asunder. Portrait of an embarrassing father-daughter moment. Starring James Brolin on the Lifetime Network. Something like that. Okay, let's get back to the flick. Bobby killed Mike.
Ooh.
If only I could remember who Mike was. I should point out that I'm only joking about James Brolin, by the way, in that TV movie on the Lifetime Net. I don't want Barbara Streisand's lawyers calling me up on Monday morning. I only use James Brolin as an example of an actor who might do that kind of movie. Not that James Brolin would. He's too good for that. He did the one about the hookers who were twin sisters. Hey, I think Cheryl Lee's pretty dang good when she's supposed to be on drugs. Like that scene in the woods where she's cracking up before Bobby kills the dealer, and the one where she's talking on the phone and she keeps turning the receiver the wrong way. I really bought that part. Remember how after Twin Peaks all these actors started popping up all over the place? It was like if you were in that show, you couldn't have been hotter. But then they all started disappearing, didn't they? Like James Marshall, who plays the dim-witted James. He was the dim-witted guy on trial in A Few Good Men. But then he started doing all these cheesy TV movies like The Unspoken Truth and She Stood Alone and All She Ever Wanted, stuff like that. Grace Zabriskie, who's Laura's chain-smoking psycho mother. She did some great Seinfeld episodes. She was George's fiance's psycho mother. And then she kind of disappeared. Machen Amick, who was in this flick for about 5 seconds getting bitch-slapped by her boyfriend. She went brunette. She had a little indie film career that lasted about a day and a half. Sleepwalkers, she was good in that. Cheryl Lynn Finn kind of comes and goes. And Cheryl Lee looked to be history till she got this show last fall, L.A. Doctors, with that weenie guy from 30-something.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the only true success story out of that series is Laura Flynn Boyle. And now I'm going to get 200 letters and emails saying, Joe Bob, you dope. Don't you know Heather Graham was in Twin Peaks? Well, I don't remember her. I know she was in the credits, but what I don't remember, I don't talk about, okay? I find I get into a lot less trouble that way. So guess what? We're going to find out who killed Laura Palmer now in the conclusion to Twin Peaks, Firewalk with Me. Well, I know who killed Laura Palmer, and you know who killed Laura Palmer, but there's one guy out there who was in a coma in the spring of 1990 who doesn't know, so don't ruin it.
Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and Twin Peaks, Firewalk with Me on TNT.
Well, Well, wasn't that interesting? Redneck orgy, incest, murder, prostitution, angels, FBI agents, all your major David Lynch food groups, wasn't it? See, the trouble with this movie is that we didn't really learn anything new about Laura Palmer's death, did we? We knew the father had this crazy alter ego named Bob. We knew he was having sex with her, and we knew he killed her. I think David Lynch at least could have thrown us a bone, had some interesting revelation about where Leland got the plastic or something, or made sense of those dang letters under the fingernails. And whatever happened to Chris Isaac? He disappeared in the first reel, right? You think David Lynch and his cronies were counting on a sequel for this thing? Because that movie makes me mad, to tell you the truth. I want to remind you, though, that next week is, of course, the long-awaited Mark Hamill double bill, The Guyver and Time Runner, in which Mark tries to pay off the mansion he bought after Star Wars. And that's it for me, Joe Bob Briggs, reminding you that it ain't the size, it's... No, wait, it is the size, okay? Did you guys hear the one about the brunette who goes to the doctor? She starts touching every part of her body, saying, Doctor, it hurts everywhere. My leg hurts, my arm hurts, my neck hurts, even my head hurts. And the doctor says, are you naturally a blonde? And the girl says, well, yes, I am. Why do you ask? And the doctor says, because your finger is broken. Joe Bob Briggs reminding you that the drive-in will never die. You didn't like that one, did you? Did you hear about the two blondes that were found frozen to death at the drive-in? They went to see Closed for the Winter. Why did the blonde stare at the can of frozen orange juice? Because it said concentrate. Why do blondes always smile during lightning storms? They think their picture's being taken. Why shouldn't blondes have coffee breaks? It takes too long to retrain them.